Hello crew, welcome back to the channel. Today we are in the shop again. Get under this light here. I get kind of poor lighting today. I'm going to try to work on that for you guys in the future. But as you can see behind me here, you probably can't tell. I don't know. It's a 2018 Chevy Malibu. It's got the 1.5 turbo engine. Turbo, big power. Not big power. Shh. Now, what happened was someone came into this with me and they're saying their brakes are hard. Really stiff pedal. You can feel it pulsating and stuff like that, like it's trying to activate the ABS. The general consensus you will see probably online that I've seen anyway is backyard mechanics just saying, oh, just get in there and change the vacuum pump. And that's that. Now, these things do suffer a common problem with the vacuum pump. That is a common failure point. So the brakes being hard has confirmed that we are lacking vacuum at the brake booster. I went ahead and ran the codes and checked. We have a P0556, which is a code for low vacuum at the brake booster. So like I said, to confirm that there's no sensor issue or anything, we can confirm that this is a problem with vacuum because the brake pedal is very stiff. We're lacking that vacuum there at the boost pressure that makes it function properly. So aside from the obvious, which I've already checked, is that we don't have a vacuum line popped off or broken in half where that pump is just it's still working, but we're not making any vacuum because it's just going to atmosphere. So it's not doing anything to the brake booster that we need. I've confirmed that. So it's pretty safe to say the vacuum pump is bad. You can go ahead and do some tests for this. I'm not going to get too much into that because honestly, you can just pop the hose off, stick your thumb on it and check if it's making vacuum or not. It'll suck your thumb on there. Don't worry, it's not going to suck your skin right through or anything. You'll be fine. But needless to say, I'm 99.9% sure that we have a problem with the brake booster pump. So I'm going to set you guys up here, get some light on the situation, tear it down a bit. But the main thing I wanted to cover is that a lot of people will just tell you that you can go ahead and just switch out the booster pump and you're good to go, right? There is more to it than that, and I'll show you when we get in there. Now, the booster pump is not that big of a deal to swap. It's actually pretty easy to access. We're going to move a couple things I'll show you, but we are going to dig into it more. And the other problem that will happen with these is that the booster pump itself, the vacuum pump, will seize right up, and the way they've designed these things is it's splined directly to the exhaust camshaft, and it will just break the exhaust camshaft when that vacuum pump seizes up. So I'll get in and show you exactly what I'm talking about when we do the dismantle here and stuff. But let's go ahead and just set you up, get some light on the situation, and get after it. Now, before I mess around with this at an angle you can't see, I figure I better show you just so you don't end up fighting with this or anything. This entire fuse tray here comes off with the battery terminal cable right there. But let's see if we can get you in there enough to see. Right here is a little clip that clips onto the battery there itself. So you just have to pry that out and it'll pop right off. And there's another one here at the back that you won't really be able to get to. So you just pry the one on the other side there and you can lift it off. So I'll just do that now. I just wanted to get you off the tripod and show you that so you weren't just watching from the other side wondering what the heck I was doing. And then when you go and remove your own battery, you're sitting there going, what is this guy showing me? All right, let's get it. All right, like I said, pop that clip up in there. It's a little bit of a pain in the buttski to get to, but there you go, she pops out. And like I said, there's this one in the back, but it's there. Just give her a little screwdriver in there and she pops right out. And there you go. I already disconnected the negative. I don't even know. A little bit of a connector here just mounted on the side of this battery box. It looks a little tricky. I'm not even going to try to get you in there to show it, but it looks like you would pry this thing in towards the battery box. You don't. You pry it out, and that will just release that. Then it slides right off. Never seen such a pain in the butt to remove a battery in a car. That's not true. I have, because they mount a lot of them in the trunk underneath the spare tire and everything. All right, we need a 13 mil here to get the actual battery tie down off. And there we go. You guys might hear me talking to you like as if I'm some kind of old grizzled pro, like I've done this job 100 times. I have not. I've never worked on a Malibu or one of these engines, these 1.5 engines. But you say I'm a mechanic, so I'm familiar with some stuff. I'm just looking at things as I go, trying to communicate to you what I'm seeing so that you don't have to fumble around if you're doing this thing yourself. All right, now, get a little more access here. Now we can get to the mount bolt for this down here. If you can see, right there is where the mount for this boost tube connects to. So we're going to pop that out. It also doubles as one of the mount bolts for that vacuum pump. So let's do that. 10 millimeter, it looks like. I generally got a pretty good eye for 10 millimeter. Because, you know, every bolt on a car is 10 millimeter for so often of your life that you'll be working on these things. That up and out of the way. Now, there you can see now our boost tube is flopping around, intake tube, whatever you prefer to call. I'm not going to go ahead down below and completely demount this thing. We just want to be able to get some access here. So let's see, where's my screwdriver? This is our, maybe I'll get you in closer here now, just so you can see what's really going on. All right, well, this might be the best I can do right here for now without some real fancy magnetic mounts. Just got to push this green tab in there. Should be both sides, but let's see if we can do it with one. This is our main vacuum outlet from the pump. Yeah, got to get the other side here too. All right, first things first, I need a little more room here. Let's get this beauty cover off. One annoying thing I will show you, because Chevy, I don't know why, but I'm just going to be thankful I'm not working on a Ford today. Torx bolt right there. Don't ask me why. What is it? It is a T30. You got to pull that out just to get this beauty cover off. The rest of it just snaps off. No biggie wiggy. And then this oil cap, I believe, is in the way as well. Use the oil cap to hold down the beauty cover. Smart. I'm just kidding. They don't use it to actually hold it down. Just, they sure make it look that way though. And get our sound deadening off of here, because we're going to be getting in there too eventually. Okay. Give you another angle on that if I can do it without interrupting my own workspace. There's our vacuum tube that we were just touching moments ago. If I had the right pliers for this, that'd be beauty, but comes off pretty easy. So, and that thing just runs all the way back to that brake booster. Okay, you can see, well, maybe you can't see. Let's try and get you in and show you here. As I was saying, maybe you can see, maybe you can't. So the vacuum pump, like I said. Right, you can see this all here. There, get my finger out of the way so it'll focus. You got an oil leak here already. Now there is a gasket behind that, behind this vacuum pump, between that and the side of the head. So I don't know if that's what's leaking or if it's just coincidentally we have a valve cover leak as well. But either way, the valve cover is going to be coming off. But let's go ahead and get this vacuum pump out of here. It's like 3 bolts, I believe, and should be yanked out. All right, from what I can tell, those look, I slipped a 13 mil there on, and it looks like all 3 mount bolts for this thing are 13 mil. I'm doing my best not to do stuff off camera, so I don't just look like I'm trying to be all smooth, you know? Because I don't mind if you guys see the dick around it takes. Really, that's what you should see, is that, you know, if you're not an actual, well, I mean, honestly, even if you are a mechanic, if you've never done a job, you've never done a job. Like, mechanics aren't, they don't know everything about everything on every car, right? We go look at schematics and we figure out systems. Well, some of us do. Maybe there's not a whole lot of great mechanics left out there. A lot of guys just want to change parts. They see a code, they change a part. Simple, right? And then they're chasing their tails all the time because I'm going to get a wrench for that. Because the part doesn't fix it, right? You're running into a circuit issue or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Squirrel! I got a wrench here to reach this one. I hope. I don't know. We'll see. We got a big coolant hose right here that's in the way. I'm sorry that you can't really see that. I'll pull you off once I get this bolt loosened, and we'll dig the camera in there just so you can see. I know that's one thing that always bugs me on YouTube videos, when guys are doing something and they don't really show you everything because they can't get the camera in where they're working. But I totally get it because I'm doing it right now. It's a pain in the butt. It makes everything take way longer to do this job just because I'm filming it. But I'll at least try to get you down there, not while I'm working, but afterwards, just so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, what would be really optimal here is to have a laser pointer, but here we are. There's our vacuum pump. The mount bolts are all kind of, you gonna give me any light or what? Let's go. No sense pointing the camera down there, you can't see anything. Now the light's in the way. Dang nabbit! Now, we got one right there that you can just see the tip of underneath. There's 2 right there. That's number 2. And then just over here, right where this was our mount here for that boost tube mount. And then right underneath it, you're not going to be able to see it here, but it's just in there. When you're there, you won't be able to miss it. There's the bolt just underneath and to the back. It's kind of recessed. It's right back here. Anyway, once you dig your own head in there, you'll see. So you won't be able to miss it then. So that's all of it there. I'll go ahead and yank this out. I'll just take my extension, just put it on there by hand. Once you break it loose, like there's this one at least is not fighting me at all. Once I actually broke the tension on the bolt real quick with the ratchet. So we'll just fire this out by hand. I wouldn't even be able to get a power ratchet in there or anything. Try to grab this thing before we lose it. One. That one might be fun down there to get to. Use the right end, silly. Give us a little bit of room. Now again, by hand. Yeah, these are all coming out really nice. Real pain when you got to work on rusted stuff or corrosion or things just, the threads fight you the whole way out. Jesus, what was that? It sounded like I got a speech impediment. There's number 2. And yeah, just try and keep track. Some of these might be a different length. I am not too positive. And this one, we might have to get the old hand job down there. Because this is so, here's the one downside to things being nice and loose for you. I can't even use a ratchet wrench on that. I might try anyway, because if I can get the ratchet wrench in there, I might be able to stick my finger onto the bolt head so that I can still get some ratcheting action. Oh, you hear that? Clickety clack. What a beautiful sound of the ears. And all you guys can see is my useless meat hooks here in the way of everything you want to see, probably. But sorry. Apologies to the viewer. I think that's more of a pain in the butt than just using my hand. I think I imagine that I didn't actually look this job up on service software or anything, because it looked simple enough, but they might tell you to just go ahead and drain the coolant and pop this coolant hose off, because that would honestly give some more, like a pretty reasonable amount of room to get in there. But I don't want to charge this guy for coolant replacement and burping the system and everything if I don't have to. So, and yeah, if it wasn't apparent, I'm charging money for this job. It's kind of what we're all about around here on Money Muscle Hustle, is hustling to make money. You always wear the gloves, right, to keep your hands clean, and then they don't stay clean. Got to take the gloves off to get in and do anything with dexterity. Word of the day. But I can't tell you the Webster's meaning of it. Come on, B. She's coming. She's coming. Here we go. She's always coming if you work that finger action just right there. I mean, you guys have heard of the shocker. I call that one the Tim Hortons double. You Canadians know what I mean. How long is this thing? Yeah, this coolant hose would be wonderful to not have here in the way. Definitely going to have to edit some of this out. You guys want to sit here and watch my hands just look like they're sitting still for 5 minutes? Brother! Okay, it's out. Don't go anywhere. Don't fall into the abyss. Chevrolet abyss. Done. All right. Now, how much trouble do you want to cause me coming out? Or I'll put you on the other side so you can see the moment of beauty. There she is. Wiggle, wiggle. Don't stop, booty, booty. I think there's a song that goes like that. Okay, there. Can you see that? Maybe you can't. Maybe you heard it. Little ding, ding, ding. That sounded like metal. Metal pieces dropping. And this is what I was getting at about there's more to this job than just replacing this annoying little vacuum pump. Okay, maneuver this out of here. It's the gasket you can hear popping and snapping. Right, there's our gasket. So I figure this is what was probably leaking. Now, see, this right here is the spline that goes onto the end of the camshaft, the exhaust camshaft to be specific. Now, you can see right here, this isn't even part of the spline. The spline sits inside. That's what rotates. This is the sleeve that it rotates in, and it's broken right off. Okay, now you know where those parts end up? They end up inside the engine. So this is why, okay, great, you just go ahead and slam on a new vacuum pump, la-dee-da. But now you've got metal parts rolling around in there. Who knows what happens to them? They get ground up, and eventually they make their way small enough that they make it down to the oil pan if they do that. And now you've got, or you just have shards of metal in there getting grind down and rotating around, mixing up with your oil. It's just ruining your bearings. So that's not something you want. The way to do this right, we got to pull this whole valve cover off, which normally isn't a big deal. This one is a bit more of a pain in the butt because you got direct injection, right? High pressure injectors. We got to, like, there's a good bit of stuff here we got to yank off, but not the end of the world. If I can do it, you can do it. I don't know, maybe, but yeah, we'll get after that. But there we go. That's our problem right there. So this vacuum pump isn't spinning because everything's busted up on it. It's probably, well, it's not seized up. So that's the fortunate part, because you guys did hear me talk about that earlier. So what'll happen is I can open this up and I'll show you, but the pump will seize up. And then what happens is, since it's splined to the cam, go figure, instead of this whole pump blowing apart, the camshaft is actually the weak point and the camshaft snaps. So if you ever run into this issue, you pretty much want to stop driving your car right away and fix it. Because if your camshaft breaks, that is a lot more work you do not want to deal with. You know, potential engine replacement. If you stamp a bunch of valves or something like that, that's just a headache you don't need to deal with. So $100 part, right? Just go ahead and pull it out and get it done. Easy peasy. All right, where should we start? Let's get these electrical connectors off. Right, these Chevys, they run these little, you can see them there, these little red locking tabs and everything. You just got to flick these up. They will come off. Now, one thing with electrical connectors that I'll try and show you here, which, like, you're just going to have to believe me when I say it, because it's not going to come across on camera, but a little trick to undoing these connectors. I don't mean these specific ones, just connectors in general, where you have your pinch clip to pop it off, is that if you just give these things a little snug push down before you push on your clip, that will really help in releasing them. Because what happens a lot of the times, you just grab, pinch, and pull, and the clip itself has tension on the locking tab, so that when you pinch, it doesn't really come off, and you just pull and end up breaking the locking tab, which is, you know, it's a pain in the butt. And then you never get a proper connection ever again. So I always just like to give them a little push down before I push my tab in, and then they just pop right out. You know, it sounds like, I don't know, maybe you already know that trick. Maybe that sounds silly to you, but that's just a little trick I learned that's been very valuable. So I thought I'd pass it on. Share the love. And sometimes those stupid locking clips just break, which is awesome. That's the tricky part with these, getting them up enough that they come up and they don't break. There we go. Okay. I probably should have checked the oil in this bad boy too, because that is something that, if you let your oil changes get away from you, that can be a cause of this vacuum pump failure. there because you get a lot of scumming. And the way these manufacturers now, they always recommend these super long oil change intervals. You know, the Europeans are phenomenal for it. Mercedes, BMW, they say like 20,000 kilometers here. In Canada, I don't know what that is in miles, 15,000, something like that. But I change mine every 10 because what happens is you get a lot of oil scumming in your engine from waiting that long. And then it plugs up oil ports. It's like everything in the engine, like these, you know, they all work off oil pressure. Everything that variates your cams and stuff. So you want to keep your oil clean or that stuff just won't function right anymore. Let's get our clip prior there. Just trying to be a jerk on that last little pinch. This wiring harness out of the way. Okay. Forget that engine ground. Grounds are very important. If you're unsure why and you want to know, leave a comment. Maybe I'll make a video talking about grounds and why they're important, why you need them, why they cause a lot of problems. All right, guys, before we get too deep into it here, just something I had to look up myself is that I don't know why Chevy does this with these engines, but they make everything all security crazy that you can't, I don't know, maybe they don't want you to work on it yourself. But instead of just having some simple quick disconnects here on a lot of these like vacuum hoses and stuff, what they do is the whole thing goes into this fitting, and I'll try and show you here, but right, that's not a screw of any kind. Like it's a security bolt. So you need some sort of special tool from Chevy to get. I'm sure you could just buy it probably on Amazon, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think these are in very tight. You could probably just get some pliers on there and break it free that way, and then just spin her out by hand. So we've got that one there to do. There's another one back here. What is it? Down. I think we can yank that one out of there. I'll let you know when we get there and figure that out. So we got to pop those two off. I can probably just pull them out of the way. They're good. What else was I going to show you here before I get you back on? So, I mean, obviously we're going to remove all this. I'll show you that. That's the main fuel supply line into the fuel rail. So we will pop that off. I'll wrap a rag around it just to catch any loose fuel coming out. And then we'll be able to pop the whole rail. This is your old direct injection system here. Is high pressure fuel rail. So we got most of the plugs out of the way already. Oh, right. There's this one here. So it's not even any sort of this is probably just a pain in the butt to remove, but this one comes around here, comes down to the turbo. Now, can you see in there or not? It might be a little difficult to see in there. There's a screw. Sorry, my big old meat puck's in the way here. Let's see, where's that? It looks like a hole on camera, but that right there, boom, that's a screw. Get a pointer here better. That's a screw right there. So just got to pop that one out, and this whole thing will come right off. We can leave it with the valve cover when we remove it. So let's go ahead and get after that there. I'll put you back on the tripod, and maybe we'll just time lapse it from here, since I kind of showed you the basics, until we get to something scary. Okay, so real quick though, just before we go to time lapse and everything, just so you know I'm not full of it here and BSing you. I got my small pair of vice grips here. I just got her right over the shoulder of that screw there, and then get her pinched a little tight and just give her a little pop here. There, that's it. It does not take much to get that. Now it's loose. And there you go. I can get the rest by finger. So they're not too bad. Pretty easy peasy. So instead of getting a fancy special tool, which, like I said, I'll have to look that up and see if I could even find this fancy tool. But you don't need it, it looks like. You could just do it that way. So I'll go ahead and we'll do time lapse there for the rest and just pop this stuff off, because I think I've kind of shown everything else. And this ain't a do-it-yourself channel anyway, so enjoy the show. All right, so you saw me messing around there on the time lapse with our fuel rail here. So I just used a pry bar and give it a little pop there. The main thing is just make sure you have all your bolts pulled out. So there's a 10 mil in each one of those there. And then 4 millimeter Allen key that goes for each of these two injector pipe hold downs there. I had a couple that were just hanging on those 10 mils, so it was fighting me. I didn't realize I didn't have quite out. I missed a thread or two there, so got that, and the whole thing popped just out nicely. So let's see. Hopefully nothing's gone. You can see some fuel down in there, but that's no big deal. That comes out of the rail. We'll just clean that up when we pull this valve cover off. Now, there I noticed there is another ground that runs down right there. Should be a 10 millimeter as well. And then this bracket here, right? This has the main wiring harness secured to it. So I'm going to go ahead and just, let's see where, there's one main bolt for it, just right down there. And that whole thing should fall away. Is there anything? Oh, that guy's got to come out for this coolant line there. I'm going to see if I can get this thing. This is a hard coolant line that runs all the way. I don't want to have to disconnect this from the turbo if I don't have to. It's flexible back here, so we'll see if we're able to just get that out of the way before we pull this thing off. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we will have, right, just a bunch of like 10 millimeters there, boom, all the way around our valve cover, and then, right, like I said, these ones in there as well in the center, right, some along this way. Just get everything out all around and yank her out. So back to time lapse you go. All right, guys, I got to apologize about doing stuff off camera. I already mentioned that in this video, and then here I am. I'm just making a hypocrite out of myself. Now, I ran into an issue here with this thing. I don't know if you noticed in the time lapse. I was trying to get it off, and it was tight to the point that I'm second guessing everything I'm doing and thinking I missed bolts. I'm double, I'm triple, I'm quadruple checking for all the bolts that they're all out of there and everything. And then I unhooked everything, and then nothing's in the way. So I'll go ahead and show you here. I'll just put you down in there, and I'll show you what ended up happening and where we got to. All right. All right, so here we are. I'm in there. Usually you got to pull the spark plugs for these things, but this one you don't have to. You can see the seam of the valve cover is above where the spark plugs mount into here. So, because they basically mount right into the head. Now, I'm just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to start yanking stuff off because this is tighter than tight. So I pulled those. What else did I do here? Oh, just over here, I'll show you this bracket. There's I said I was going to take it all the way off. I didn't. There's a little mount screw there that goes all the way through. I just backed that out so it's flush, and that should give it room to get out. this coolant line here that attaches to the turbo. Of course, that extension would be right in the way. I took that off of there, leaks a bit of coolant through a drain pan down there, and then there you go. I pulled the O2 sensor out of the turbo there, exhaust, just so that I had room to get this coolant pipe pulled up back out of the way, and then that freed up that bracket there that was in our way just to get that out. Now, I double, triple, quadruple checked, like I said. Oh, that's right. I ended up pulling these VVT solenoids here, just pulled them out just to make sure that like everything was out of the way, but those don't have to come out. So another waste of my time. I was beating on this thing with a dead blow hammer, like you name it, I was trying to do it. What ended up finally popping it free here was, I have an old wood chisel laying around, and I was able to get this in right from the side here. Let's see if I can line it up for you. And just right on that tab, find the split on there, and I just beat that with a hammer and beat it and beat it and beat it until it finally, I could see it starting to let go, and then the whole thing popped. So there we are. She's free. So I can go ahead and yank that out of the way now, and we can get down to brass tacks here of what we're actually trying to do today. So I hope that helps somebody, because holy man, that thing was stuck. I've never seen one stuck that bad, but we're on our way now. All right, so here we are. I'm in there. Usually you got to pull the spark plugs for these things, but this one you don't have to. You can see the seam of the valve cover is above where the spark plugs mount into here. So, because they basically mount right into the head. Now, I'm just thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to start yanking stuff off because this is tighter than tight. So I pulled those. What else did I do here? Oh, just over here, I'll show you this bracket. There's I said I was going to take it all the way off. I didn't. There's a little mount screw there that goes all the way through. I just backed that out so it's flush, and that should give it room to get out. This coolant line here that attaches to the turbo, of course, that extension would be right in the way. I took that off of there, leaks a bit of coolant through a drain pan down there, and then there you go. I pulled the O2 sensor out of the turbo there, exhaust, just so that I had room to get this coolant pipe pulled up back out of the way, and then that freed up that bracket there that was in our way just to get that out. Now, I double, triple, quadruple checked, like I said. Oh, that's right. I ended up pulling these VVT solenoids here, just pulled them out just to make sure that like everything was out of the way, but those don't have to come out. So another waste of my time. I was beating on this thing with a dead blow hammer, like you name it, I was trying to do it. What ended up finally popping it free here was, I have an old wood chisel laying around, and I was able to get this in right from the side here. Let's see if I can line it up for you. And just right on that tab, find the split on there, and I just beat that with a hammer and beat it and beat it and beat it until it finally, I could see it starting to let go, and then the whole thing popped. So there we are. She's free. So I can go ahead and yank that out of the way now, and we can get down to brass tacks here of what we're actually trying to do today. So I hope that helps somebody, because holy man, that thing was stuck. I've never seen one stuck that bad, but we're on our way now. All right, so valve cover off and out of the way. Now, this actually looks pretty good here. When people run really long oil change intervals, what you'll see is it'll be sludged up, and like you'll just see oil sludge all over everything. This is pretty good. Like this is just, right? It's just oil film. Like that's what you should have in there. You should have oil everywhere because it's all spitting out of these cam bearings and everything. So all fine and dandy. I'm happy with this guy that he's been taking care of his car for the most part. Now, here's our exhaust cam. This is where our vacuum pump was, right here, splined right in. Okay, that's the spline on the end of the cam that it fits on. Now, fortunately, this one, I'm going to inspect that pretty thoroughly just to make sure there's no cracks or anything. But my main concern was down here. Look at that. See, that's all pieces of junk that is busted off of that vacuum pump. So what I need to do is just go ahead. I'm going to grab all that stuff out of there, make sure everything's out, double check everything, just make sure we have no junk left in there, so nothing that can get chewed up by those cams or anything. Then that's it. We'll replace the valve cover gasket and we're good to go. Valve cover can go back on and we can move on with the actual problem here, which is the vacuum pump that is kaputzi's. So I'll go ahead and yank that stuff out. You guys don't need to watch me do that. I'll just use a magnet and stuff and dig that out with a screwdriver, whatever I got to do, get her clean, and we'll move on. Well, it's a new day. I should say new evening. It's 10:30 the next night now. I got held up for a day waiting for parts. So I finally got some seals, and well, that's it. I don't want to be out here all night, so let's get after it here. Tear this open. Don't mind if I look fat as your mom's old minge. Just had a big feed of Five Guys tonight there, and it went down. It's good stuff. All right, now when it comes to these seals, generally these don't need anything on them, but I like to put a little silicone grease on them. It's not going to hurt them, and if nothing else, that little bit of goop on there just helps them stay in place, because these valve cover ones, when you're trying to install them, by the pure nature of the fact that when you put the valve cover on, it's upside down, and now these seals are hanging upside down. Gravity likes to do its thing, and sometimes they fall out of there, which is a pain in the butt. So that's why I just lube them up a little bit, and helps keep them in there. Now, let's find our little tab here. There's a little spot where it lines up. They're all shaped nicely, but you got to get it lined up in the right spot. Make sure you don't have it inside out. And I don't know what the heck the last guy that did valve cover gaskets on this thing sealed these up with, rubber cement or something, because, well, you just saw it. I mean, new day for me, so it's awful weird filming this stuff. You guys just saw this 30 seconds ago. It's no transition, but for me, it's a whole day ago now. So it feels kind of strange sometimes. Trying to talk to you like it's all one big smooth production. Looby. But yeah, wow, that valve cover was stuck on there. So fierce. I've never seen anything like that. Usually you give them a couple whacks with a dead blow and that's it. It'll come right off. I was in there, I had a chunk of wood and a big old 3-foot pry bar, a couple spots I could get onto that I found that worked, and prying with all my might. You could see the engine lifting off the engine stand, or off the engine mounts. Geez, I'm trying to do two things at once here and I can't talk straight. Hey, that don't look right. There, how about that? That looks better. This thing going the right way. Somebody's big old pube in there or something. Not mine. I don't roll disco anymore. Just kidding. No, it was a head hair anyway. Okay. Roll it along. Couple little notches there that this fits in. Looks good. All right. Uno momento. I'll bring you in close and just show you the intricacies there, but if I have to explain it, it's probably not the right job for you. There we go. That big old circle there, the biggest one, is your dead giveaway of maybe where to start, good spot. And then you've got a bend on that one side, and then a much more pronounced bend over here, so that can kind of help you figure out which way you're going, whether you're upside down or not, or inside out. And there you go, just follow your way around, right? Bada bing, bada boom. Inside one, just a little aligning notch right there. Once you got that, like you say, you can figure out pretty easily if you're inside out or not for the rest of that. So looking good. We'll go ahead and get some lights on and fire it on the car. Well, there you go. I tried to get you a little better angle here going on. Hope that's not too bad. I figured from where I got you sitting there, it's I won't be in your way too much. Now the biggest thing here is just get this all clean. Valve cover gaskets usually aren't too bad, but they make these little plastic razor blades, and they're pretty handy for cleaning up this stuff because you won't actually scrape any metal away. But it's really nice. It still has a sharpness to it that'll take off any gunk on here, clean it up good. And you definitely, I mean, Jesus, God forbid, you didn't leave the whole actual seal still stuck to the head here or something like that. God knows, when I was a youngin', still just a teenager working at some quick lube place, you know, before I'd started my trade and didn't know nothing about nothing. We were in a hurry one day, and I'm just changing oil filters on the engine. Simple. I mean, how do you muck that up, right? Well, we were in a rush. I didn't check. Spun that new filter on after the old one come off. Well, go figure. That old seal was still stuck up there on the oil filter housing. They start this thing up, try to check levels and stuff, and there's oil spraying everywhere. Shut it down, shut it down. Pull the filter off, figure out my mistake. Oops. No biggie, right? Just replace it, top it up, clean up a bit, have the guy on his way. Well, don't you know, this guy brought his own oil in. Some fancy pants oil. I mean, it wasn't even a nice car, first of all. You're coming to Quick Lube, it's probably not a nice car. This guy had like some Ford Expedition just to hunt the, you know, whatever, some run-of-the-mill SUV or whatever. Brought his own fancy pants oil that was like, I don't know what it was, like very specialty for some reason, super expensive. Sure enough, we didn't have it in the shop, and I end up running around town. This guy's waiting in the bay for like 3 hours while I run out looking for oil, to driving around town to get this guy a special oil to top it up that we owe him now. So yeah, check your mating surfaces. Good times. All right, what do we got? Seems crazy that this is all just seems like we got a lot of work to do here just to get to the actual job. We're not even on the real job that this is here for yet. Slip under that fuel line. No. We got to get under this thing first. If I can remember how I mangled this thing in off of there in the first place. There we go. Okay. We're landed. Wonderful. Now, let's just get back on time lapse here, and we'll fire some bolts into this, tighten it up. We'll find a torque spec, and that'll take care of that. Put this all back together. All right, now before anyone tries to call me on it, I'm going to torque this thing off camera just because I need what I'm using to film to look at the torque sequence. There is a torque sequence for it. It's important to follow it. This one specifically is 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds. I got old trusty right there. We're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and do it off camera, like I said. But if you want to prevent oil leaks, follow that torque spec and follow the sequence. It's not a catastrophic part, but you don't want leaking oil everywhere. It's a simple little extra step. Doesn't take much time, so you might as well do it. If you don't have the right tools, borrow them, buy them, whatever. But go ahead and do that. Follow the manufacturer specs, okay? So I'm going to do that off camera, and we'll get back to you. All right, valve cover's all on there. You saw that. I'm pretty much squared away. I was going to do the harness and everything, but I thought I'd actually leave that out of the way so you can see better when this vacuum pump goes in, and then I'll do the harness after on the coils and everything. Here's our new pump. Comes with a new gasket. Great. Here's the old one. They look identical other than old and busted there. Everything's nice and new here. Main thing is we just got to ensure we line up our splines there properly on that cam before we go ahead and try to drive this thing home with the bolts. So you don't go ahead and break anything else trying to force that in there if you're not perfectly lined up. So I'm just going to go ahead and spot in there which way the cam's sitting right now and then line that up accordingly and slide her home. All right, I don't know how shaky that camera is where I got it, but try not to bump anything here. See if we can figure out how we mangled this thing out of there in the first place. I think I had all that wiring harness in the way when I yanked this thing out. So this should go in easier. I think I got it pretty lined up with where the cam is facing now. That little blue doohickey's got to come up under that coolant line. There we go. And the doohickey, as it's referred to in technical terms, is the vacuum outlet, as we've discussed prior. Okay. That seems like she's seated home there pretty good. Went in pretty easy. Get a few bolts into it. Oh, there we go. Just felt that thread catch. At least I think I did. Yeah, I'm out. No. I don't remember how I kinked my fingers up to get these all in here last time. But I remember complaining about this coolant line being in the way. And that has not changed. There we go. Oh, no, you don't. Here we go. Just lift that up and we can... There you go. Yeah, you guys can see that. I just got that lifted up and I get my fingers underneath that coolant hose there now. Seems to work. Now if I could just get some threads to bite there. You gotta learn all the little finger tricks as a mechanic. Right there. Got a few threads going. Okay, one more bolt to start. And then you guys should be able to just watch this in fast speed. There shouldn't be much else to see here to drive this home. You son of a bee. All right. I got to go round up a magnet and find that bolt. All right, not too bad. Just falls right there on top of the transmission, so we can fish her out without too much problem. Let's get some light back here, and again, is that even where you guys can see? There we go. Now, as I was saying, easy peasy, shove that bolt in. I'll tell you what I ought to do here. Just get a bit of an extension. Now, if I was smart, I'd put a little, that's a little trick you can do sometimes. Stick a little grease on the head of the bolt. And that'll just help kind of suck it onto your socket there. And then you can fish stuff in like that. But I'm too lazy to go get the grease. I can reach most of the way in there anyway, so. All right, is that going? Or is it tricking me? Oh yeah, we're in. Okay, 3 bolts started. Just got to tighten those up. Then we got a vacuum hose to hook up there. And then we can tie up the rest of this nonsense. And then we should be able to test her out. I am still missing an O2 sensor here in the outlet of the turbo that I took out prior, like I told you, for that coolant line. So we'll have to fire that in there too. Okay. Off we go. We're looking good. All right, got most of everything back together, but some of you keeners might have noticed that little guy right there. One of these crankcase ventilation hoses, these are so brittle. Like, this is the way they're made, right, from Chevy. They're just brittle. So somewhere in the process, this thing broke, cracked right in half here. And I'm sure that Chevy engineers this on purpose like this, so that this is a part that will become a wear item that you'll have to go back and buy for perpetuity forever, you know, just to keep your car on the road. Now, I don't see any reason that I don't know. I've kind of looked. I didn't spend a lot of time online. Maybe you guys know. You can let me know in the comments if you've seen this, but I cannot believe that I haven't seen any sort of aftermarket company fabricate something. I mean, it's not even fabricate. Like, you can just replace this with basic PCV hose. Like, that's simple as that. Just cut these off and then spline this. Just use a hose clamp with some hose there, generic hose that could withstand vacuum, and replace all this crap with a proper flexible hose like it should have right from the factory. So for now, this guy needs his car back. You know, again, he doesn't want to be waiting on parts again. He just needs the thing because he's out about doing stuff. So I'm going to do something right now that's going to look a little hack, but we're not intending to leave this way forever. This is just to give him his car back and get him on the road, get him moving. So what I have is just, I had some 3/8 inch internal diameter clear tubing kicking around. This slips right over this perfectly, kind of makes a bit of a fit. So all I'm going to do is use this like a sleeve. I'm going to put some RTV on it on both ends, slide it over here. That should make a bit of a seal. We can even wrap it in some black duct tape there, and just to kind of let it blend in for now. And then when he doesn't need his car for a bit and he can drop it off, I can go ahead and replace this properly with the right part. So for now, we're going to go ahead and do that. Oh, it's fun doing trailer park stuff, huh? So we just got some red RT. You know what? I shouldn't have done that, but let's put it on here. That would be the smart thing to do if you were a smart guy. But hey, you got me today, so what are you going to do? So go ahead, head down to that comment section, and let me know what kind of a hack I am for doing this. Maybe even better, tell me the best hack jobs you've done. Sometimes you do what you got to do to get on the road, man. I know I had one time I was driving some beater old Toyota 4Runner I had. Come around some corner, and then hear a big bang. Look across the road. There's my tire making a jump over the meridian. Huh, interesting. So I pull over, riding on the brake disc, go for a walk through a cow patty field to get my tire back, my front tire, and walk it all the way back. I don't know how lug nuts fell off this thing somewhere along the way. I don't know who had it before me that didn't torque the wheels. So, word to the wise, do your retorques. They're actually kind of important sometimes. And then I just luckily had a jack that would in the car that would slip there just under one of the frame members, just enough that I could get the thing in the air. And I robbed a lug nut off each other wheel that I had and drove home with 3 lug nuts on that one wheel just to get me by. It worked. All right, well, there's our hack job for today. So like I said, I'm going to let that RTV dry a bit. I do have some black duct tape, although they do call it duck tape. So I'll go ahead and just wrap that up so it looks a little better, blends in for now. I don't even know why I care. He probably doesn't care. He knows it's going to be temporary and it's got a beauty cover over it anyway, but that's the kind of man I am, damn it. All right, guys, you have to forgive me. It's a new day again, and I didn't film the big reveal, the big startup. Started up smooth, everything went good. I was up till 2 a.m. last night, and I just got sick of dealing with everything. The camera died, and I needed to go to bed. So I'm up today here, did the initial startup. Here she is, purring away. Everything sounds good. Brake pedal feels great. So hopefully this guy will be happy and he'll be on his way. And that's really it. I guess the only thing that I would mention is that I kind of glossed over the fuel rail coming off. If you're unaware, when you pull that fuel rail off, you'll see at the top of the injectors, there's O-rings that go on top of there. They get stuck, they come right off, and they pull right up in the fuel rail pipe. So you have to dig them out of there with a seal pick. Try not to cut them or anything, or you got to replace them, and slip those back over those injectors. Put a little silicone lube on there before you plumb the fuel rail back down on top of those injectors, and then torque those things up. Good to go. No leaks, everything. I don't know why. Fuel, I always worry about fuel injectors leaking every time I have to touch a fuel system. That's like my biggest nightmare. It's a fire under the hood. But we got no fire here except for these fire mechanic skills. I know, Bush League at best. But hey, come on. If you like what you saw, give me a like and a follow. Tune in next time. There's plenty more to come. Maybe I'll be working on some of my own stuff here soon in the future. That's it for today. Take care. See you next time.